Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach has a lot of cinematic disasters that unfortunately occur surrounding its animatronic cast. Not even counting anything within the ruined DLC yet, there's still a lot of destruction that takes place. So today, we're going to take a look behind the scenes and slow down all of these painful occurrences to see how these cutscenes are put together. From Roxy to Monty to Chica, there's a whole lot of smashing and reckless driving to be had. But things look a bit different when we break these cutscenes down off camera and in slow motion. So please enjoy the suffering of these three glam rock stars. Indie horror on YouTube is something I've indulged in for almost a decade now. It has been a wild ride, and when I think of this impressive timeline of horror, it's hard not to see the impact that the SCP Foundation has made. For those in the dark, the SCP Foundation is a community-driven collection of eerie and unsettling documentations on anomalies that haunt our world. They're works of fiction, and this web project has bled over to many mediums, including indie horror games, animations, and even books. And that's why I'm excited to partner with Parabooks to tell you about the SCP Foundation Art Book Collection. These books are themed after blood-stained research journals and contain articles and commissioned artist illustrations depicting the SCP Foundation's most popular and terrifying entries. Each hardcover book is crafted beautifully with high-quality printing and is the perfect gateway into the unexplained. Being in the indie horror game space, the inspirational impact that the SCP Foundation community has made is far-reaching, and these art books are the perfect way to celebrate that legacy. So if you want to snag yourself a copy of these books, click the link in the description below to get one of the SCP art books online today from Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Walmart, or other stores. And a huge thanks to Parabooks for sponsoring this video and supporting me as a horror creator on YouTube. So in Security Breach, you basically have to choose between either smashing Chica or Monty with, various tools of destruction. And then you get to hit Roxy with a car. You will always come face to face with Roxy, but depending on your actions, you may not always snuff out all three. But to start off our adventure, we're going to focus on Monty first, since for some reason, he seems like he's built the worst out of everyone. So this is what normally happens. Monty jumps down, we slap a button, the bucket swoops down and starts overpowering Monty, causing Monty to fall. And the impact from that fall, which is about 30 or so feet, is enough to just cut Monty in half. He then hits something else as he's falling down, before ultimately coming to rest on the ground. We then see that Gregory is already down here waiting to pillage his corpse. Now, all of this normally happens super fast, so let's slow this whole thing down. When we trigger the ending, Monty just kind of jumps down to confront us, but Gregory has other plans. Off camera, we can see Gregory just kind of sliding towards the button, while breaking his own arm. From this angle, it's hard to see, but the second we flip the camera around, we can see Gregory's arm has seen better days. I just love how dead Gregory's eyes look during this whole ordeal. Absolutely no remorse for what he's about to do. To him, Monty is already dead. Something we miss out on due to the speed of this whole cutscene is just the look of anticipation and terror on Monty's face. He's peering past his glasses at what's coming next. And even running this in super slow motion, the game looks like it speeds up right before Monty catches the bucket. But in reality, that reaction is just so quick compared to all the other animation that even when slowed down, it plays fast. Unfortunately, Monty skipped leg day, and he sort of just melts through the bucket. I can't tell if every metal bone in his body just broke, or he just morphed into spaghetti. But before this scene unloads, we can see Monty just sliding through the rafter. He is then warped downwards quite a ways for a slow motion shot of him falling with balls. At this speed, the balls appear to be inert, but they are in fact moving. This slow-mo shot of a slow-mo shot is quite compelling though. Once Monty warps to his next location, we can see a piece of the metal scaffolding fly over to where he is. Monty then gets cut in half, and we can see that his severed torso is right next to the animated one. It's just out of the shot. He freezes in place before the next close-up happens. Monty then smashes his jaw on the metal below him, but if we look above him, we can see his legs are still floating upwards quite a bit. Each of these shots are taking place in different areas around Monty Golf as well, and they aren't directly on top of each other like one would visualize. We can see that Monty's legs were a clean cut too, almost like his torso was merely unscrewed from his legs. Monty then falls, and his bottom lip clips through his face, and he looks, a bit derpy. At this point, the game now swaps out the destroyed Monty model that was up above with the previous one as it hits the ground. It's kind of funny because from another angle, it looks like Monty is giving the player a thumbs up or a smoking finger gun as he hits the ground. Shortly after all the objects spawn in, the legs and glasses warp to their actual falling locations and proceed with closing out the cutscene. They all fall slowly as smoke fills the scene, before popping back up into the air to fall again. Now that Monty has stopped moving, Gregory warps down here and asserts his dominance over his fallen foe. And what better way to do that than T-posing over their broken, motionless body. A true savage. So now that Monty's busted, let's move on to Chica. Chica's hunger gets the best of her, unfortunately. The way that Chica gets scrapped is that the player collects Monty mix from the bowling alley and then adds it to the trash compactor. Chica then starts chowing down, and Gregory comes out for blood as he activates the trash smasher. This doesn't immediately work though, so Gregory has to push Chica in himself. Chica gets crushed instantly, and then as the compactor is resetting, Chica springs up at Gregory, who then kicks off her beak. The trash compactor kicks in its secondary smash, and Chica's eyes pop out of her head as she gets pressed against the side of the machine. Her and Gregory then slide into the trash compactor. Okay, so there's a ton to go over here. Unlike Monty, this isn't broken up into separate shots at different locations as the animatronic gets destroyed. So as soon as you press the button, Chica is warped to the doorway where the cutscene begins. She then just sort of wanders on in and says that she smells pizza. During this walking animation, her face is kind of bugging out, but it's not until she reaches the interior of the trash compactor that the assets inside of it load in. Watching Chica from the Monty Mix point of view in slow motion is a bit intense though. We can see from another angle that she really isn't eating anything, and that the Monty Mix and garbage she's eating just spawns in front of her and falls. Gregory just sort of appears in the background and begins to reach for the button with his mutant arm. It must be swollen since he broke it back in Monty Golf. Gregory then proceeds to sink into the floor before he warps out of view when the shot changes. This is when Chica hears the smashed compactor clicking on, and her expression in slow motion just looks like she thought of something pleasant. Once the shot swaps again, Gregory appears in the back of the room, and his legs appear to be broken. When Chica looks back at him, Gregory just melts into the floor before coming out of it to race towards Chica. He just kind of twists out of the ground as he slides across the room like a demon, getting ready to possess her. Kind of surprising that Gregory can straight up push a 300-pound animatronic as far as he does. Kid's got some cannons for arms, man. You can appreciate this more in slow motion because it is the sheer impact of Gregory's hands that launches Chica, unlike someone actually pushing over a heavy object. After Chica tumbles, Gregory looks like he's about to start doing the Gangnam Style dance. From another angle, slow motion Chica looks like she got shot in a war and is about to give her final monologue before dying. The boy ain't having it though, because if we look at Gregory's face at this part, it appears his brain has stopped functioning. Now for the good part. As Chica reaches for Gregory, she gets smashed, and we can see how this is pulled off. So the animators continually animate her body and have it collapse before the head of the trash smasher. Once there's no longer any room, they begin to push Chica's body through the floor. Because of the camera angle, you can't really see this. She eventually gets pushed farther down and clips through the trash compactor itself. And this is ultimately where a model swap is going to happen. So as the trash compactor lifts up, the original model of Chica is going to fall through the ground as the broken Chica slides in from the right side. This is so that when Chica springs upwards, she's now damaged. Beneath the map, we can find the original model with its head torn off, stuck in a free fall pose. This Chica will stay down here until the cutscene finishes and all cutscene related assets are unloaded. If we change our angle, we can see this Chica and the Chica above her in the same shot. And it's kind of neat seeing it from this perspective as the Chica up top starts to move. Chica doesn't get her beak until right before the trash compactor lifts up, and it suddenly spawns in. Up top, she continues to slide into view of the camera as Gregory sits there, debating on if he should go to the hospital for a severely broken ankle. Good lord, man. Gregory just kind of slides backwards until Chica's eyes open. She starts to get up, and as she lunges towards Gregory, his foot rotates completely around. I had a brain fart and moved the camera for a second, but you can see the start and ending of that rotation so that his joints are aligned for getting grabbed by Chica. Gregory's neck looks like a bent noodle at this point, and I'm honestly not sure if he's gonna make it. This is when Gregory is thrown to the ground as he clips through the bottom of the compactor. He struggles for a bit before kicking off Chica's beak into the air. If we follow the beak, we can see it just sort of clips to the ground and lands in the trash. But now it's time to watch Chica's eyes pop out in slow motion. So, the second compactor just goes through all the other objects in the area and only pushes Chica. I'm not sure why this happens, but for some reason, the textures on the back of Gregory's model appear to be stretched and burned. As Chica's space gets limited, we can look behind the scenes to see her legs clipping through the ground and into the trash. Gregory's textures magically heal, and now it's game over for Chica. Grab some popcorn, because as her face gets pinned against the metal, you can see how much care went into this part. The detailing is great, and even the metal on the side of the compactor is getting bent out of shape as Chica's head resists getting crushed. Out of view, Gregory's model has gotten all weirdly stretched out, with his neck being the most extreme. This neck and head joint contains the game's camera though, so that's why it looks strange. All that matters is the position of the camera, and the head and body are sort of along for the ride. And then, finally, Chica's eyes pop and the struggle is over. She goes motionless as she slides back into the trash compactor. I'm not sure why this happens exactly, since they are both resting horizontally, but both her and Gregory slip into the trash as Gregory's hip and leg practically get torn off. They both slide into the darkness out of bounds, and the cutscene ends. The next thing we see is Chica sitting there, having certainly seen better days. 2 down, 1 to go, and now we're heading over to Roxy Raceway. So this cutscene has Gregory driving around haphazardly on the raceway, and up above, Roxy is angered that this boy has evaded her so many times before. So she jumps down to confront him, but Gregory ejects out of the car as it tumbles and collides with Roxy. We see the hit 3 times, and then a slow transition takes place to show us where Roxy ultimately fell, pinned beneath the car in a broken state. Gregory then just rips out her eyes, claiming his trophy of death. Okay, so let's rewind time and go through this again. The second you activate that car by placing the dummy's head back on, Gregory and the car get moved to the track. Over there, we can see our T-posing dummy guiding Gregory to his final destination. Meanwhile, the Gregory we were playing as is still standing over where the cart originally was. Moving the camera back over to the track, we can see an aerial video of Gregory riding around. As we inch closer and closer to where we encounter Roxy, the game will fade to black. Due to the distance, in the next close-up shot of Roxy, we can actually see the game swap out her low-quality LOD model with the higher fidelity one. And this is visible in normal gameplay too. The transition of the camera is too quick, and the game sometimes doesn't catch up right away. So Roxy runs along and then jumps down like usual, except in slow motion of course. The second she stands up and then immediately crouches down, that's when our car loads back in. We are no longer T-posing, but one of the wheels is dislodged, and we can find Gregory's leg clipping through the bottom of the race car. In fact, his pants are positioned higher than his waist, and the whole setup looks a bit goofy. We can see his leg is also dislodged and floating inside his back. Gregory starts looking a little sus as he evolves into a necromorph while leaving the race car. He ascends to a higher plane of existence as his limbs elongate. By the time he clips to the ground, he is a different person, and his flying car jutsu is ready to destroy his opponent. Roxy is in an interesting pose too, almost like she's palming an invisible basketball beneath her hand, as the track continues to swallow up Gregory and his enormous gorilla arms. Animation is restored to Roxy as she prepares to catch a car with her face. The car kind of spins around very oddly before coming in contact with her though. And due to the slow motion instant replays, the animation poses reset a lot as the car actually gets close. With the first impact, we can see Roxy getting dragged with the car before she readjusts her positioning beneath it as she heads off camera. She then slides under the car and resets for round 2. We can see this time her hand clips to the car before responding to it, and then she takes a mouthful of tire in the face. As this plays out, it kind of makes me wonder why they decided to go with an instant replay for this cutscene. I mean, it makes sense given it's racing, but I wonder if it happened too quickly in comparison to the demise of the other 2 animatronics. Anyways, Roxy gets pushed back quite a bit and her eyes close. Eventually, her face clips through her torso and she completely flattens out. For the third shot, we're in super slow motion, and it's glorious. Now, what I find interesting is that the only thing that really changes in these next shots is that the car and Roxy's position are adjusted right before we get a close-up. So you can see both of Roxy's legs are beneath the car right here, but when we get to the end of the cutscene where Roxy is malfunctioning, her leg position was changed so that her foot is now clipping through the car up on top. I'm not sure why this was done, but with this, all 3 animatronics are now pretty busted up. And that brings us to the end of our slow motion analysis. Subscribe right now if you enjoyed this video, as it will help me hit 1 million subscribers. And of course, there's plenty of other FNAF game-breaking content coming your way. Thanks for watching, and cheers!